Hello, it's 24th of November 2016, and this is episode 8 of Scavenger's Hoard, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Kirsty.
We're here to deliver a regular rundown of Star Wars news, analysis, and commentary, with a focus on the sequel trilogy and the future of the saga. So, Kirsty, how's your week in Star Wars been?
It's been pretty uneventful, really. I've just been reading more of Catalyst, so...
How are you getting on with it? Is it good?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm not, completely into it in the way that I have been with other Star Wars books, like Bloodline and Lost Stars, but I am enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to have it finished by the time I see the movie, so it'll be a good setup for that. How about you?
Oh yeah, exciting thing that happened to me this week was that I booked my Rogue One tickets. It's really, I feel a bit bad because here in the UK we can book our tickets, but people in the North America, nope.
Yeah, I don't know if all listeners know. I live in America, so I'm very jealous right now that Rachel has her tickets and I don't.
I will keep the full nature of my tickets in suspense for later. Talk properly about the Rogue One tickets going on sale.
Yeah.
But yeah, suffice to say that was probably the most Star Warsy thing that has happened to me this week.
Yeah, I don't think we even know when the tickets are going on sale in America. I don't think it's even been announced, so that's a bit annoying. But
yeah, I think it's all like rumors and whispers, and lies and certainty. It's all very unclear. I have no idea why they're being so cloak and dagger about it. It's like, guys, the film is obviously coming out. You don't need to dilly-dally about putting the tickets on sale. They are on sale in Europe.
Everything in Star Wars is a guessing game. So.
Yeah, they're keeping even the release dates and mystery boxes. It's ridiculous. On a Catalyst note, actually, I did pick it up in my local Waterstones, and I sat down, and this is really bad because I need to have more patience. But I read the first 2 pages, and it's like, meh. I know that's really mean. I'm sure that it gets better as it goes along, but some books you can pick them up and you're grabbed from the beginning. I felt like that with Bloodline. Bloodline was amazing, but with Catalyst, I was a bit like,
Yeah, I think every writer is going to have their own style, and these are brand new characters.
Yeah,
so with Bloodline, of course you want to read more about Leia.
Yeah,
that's someone we're already attached to.
No, definitely. It makes a lot of sense. Right. Are we ready to move into news?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. The first story is that Kathleen Kennedy, in an interview with EW, she has been talking about the future of Star Wars, which is obviously relevant to our interests. And this is what Kathleen Kennedy said when asked what will happen to Star Wars after Episode 9 comes out in 2019. That's the conversation going on right now, too. I have to honestly tell you, could we? Sure, but I don't know. We are looking at all of that. There are possible movies that we've been talking about a lot, but we're planning to sit down in January, since we will have had The Force Awakens released, now Rogue One, and we've finished shooting Episode 8. We have enough information where we can step back a little and say, what are we doing? What do we feel is exciting? And what are some of the things we want to explore? This is obviously from a much longer article. The main other thing of interest that it mentions is that at Celebration in 2015, there was meant to be a reveal of a Boba Fett standalone movie with Josh Trank as the director, but obviously Josh Trank did not go on to direct a Star Wars film, and that project did not happen. So it was heavily rumoured that Trank was going to do a Boba Fett film, but it was only rumours, and this EW article is essentially the highest level confirmation we've had yet that yes, that was a thing, and they even prepared footage for it. So yeah, those were the main takeaways from that article. Did you read it, Kirsty? What did you think?
Yeah, I did. I think I've seen this article throw people into a bit of a panic because there's the question of whether there would be another trilogy, or whether they're going to put an end to the Skywalker Saga.
Yes.
But I think she's just saying that after a couple of the films, under the Disney head have come out, they're going to take a step back and review and see where they are and how things are doing.
Yes.
There is a lot of pressure on Rogue One, as we've talked about, and they want to see how it performs and whether those standalone films really do have a future. I am skeptical as to whether they would ever really say, no, we're not going to do any more trilogies. Or at least movies in the Skywalker Saga.
Yeah.
Because that's like a guaranteed moneymaker.
Yeah.
You know, with the mass audience, like standalones, I'm sure will be very popular with people who are already invested in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I can't see them saying goodbye to the Skywalkers. What do you think?
I definitely don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, I think they could have like a 10-year break or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to kind of build up the interest again.
I think that would have to, of necessity, be what happens. Like, for the most mundane reason, it would be because I'm pretty sure that Daisy, John, Adam, so on and so forth, all of those actors, they're going to be contracted for the 3 films, so 7, 8, and 9. But I'd be very, very surprised they're contracted for anything beyond that.
Yeah.
So, and being realistic, I strongly doubt they'd be willing to come back in 2021 for Star Wars Episode 10. They are naturally going to want to go off and do other things with their careers.
Yeah.
So if they want to continue that main saga story and presumably have some of the same characters in it for continuity, because we love those characters and we're attached to them, then they would naturally need to take a break from the saga films. So it's kind of an inevitable question of how do you fill that gap between the end of this saga and the start of the next one. So I think that's the real question. I don't think there's any doubt that there will be another continuation of the saga following on from episode 9. It's just that it's very unlikely to come out 2 years after episode 9 does.
Yeah, because otherwise it doesn't really feel like a trilogy, does it? Like, you're going to have a definitive... This story, episode 7 to 9, is going to be self-contained, even if you do then expand it after that. Yeah. So the hero's journeys would have come full cycle. Yeah. So you do need to have that break, and because it's a generational saga, presumably someone will have had children by that time. Yes. If we're looking ahead to the next trilogy. So then you need to cast new people for that, and then figure out whether you're going to have the older cast back for smaller parts, or, you know, there's going to be all sorts of things to figure out. So they are just going to need time. Yeah. Pablo Hidalgo has said that they're planning content 10 years out, but I'm sure the next trilogy is very penciled in. It's not going to be like set in stone at this stage at all. Yeah. No, exactly, because so much of it will depend on like real world concerns, like which actors are going to even want to come back at all. Right. Because that was one of the factors that very much dictated what episode 7 was going to look like, because they obviously had ideas of what they could do if Harrison said he didn't want to come back, or Mark said he didn't want to come back, or Carrie said she didn't want to come back. So it would have been a different film if any one of those actors had said, no, I don't want to do this anymore, than what we got. So I'm very happy they all agreed, but I definitely think it's going to be different for the younger actors, especially because they're all going to be like at their prime in terms of their careers in 2019, because they're all shooting stars. If you look at what their projects are, it's like Adam has Silence and Patterson coming out this year. Daisy has all sorts on her plate. Yeah. It's unclear how much of it is actually going to film, because a lot of it is like stuff that's more in the pre-production phase. It's unclear if it's going to get financing and so on. But I know she's doing Murder on the Orient Express soon with Johnny Depp and a whole galaxy of stars, as you could say. And then John, he's doing the Pacific Rim sequel. Yeah. So they are in no way short of work, and I'm pretty sure that situation is going to continue. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know I would definitely want to see more saga films. Because, definitely. Like, I am excited for Rogue One. I want to see that, but I'm not as enthused about it as I am about any of the saga films, if that makes sense. Yeah, people have a real attachment to the Skywalkers, and not to say like people won't be attached to Finn if he's not a Skywalker or whatever. Like, it's not how it works, but there's something about this family and the events that cloud around them that it's just, you know, it's decades in the making that I don't see them throwing it away. Yeah, no, exactly. It's like mythology, essentially. Right. It's cinematic mythology, and you can't just kill that or forget that it happened. It will always have to be part of the fabric of this universe. It's actually really funny. I was watching Collider Movie Talk, and like, as a hypothetical question, they asked if in December, so next month, you could go out to the cinema and see Rogue One
like knowing all about it, like from the pre-release publicity and so on, or you could go and see episode 8 knowing nothing about it. Which film would you go and see? And I found it a ridiculous question, because to me, I wouldn't even pause before saying episode 8.
Oh, I'd be in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a question as far as I'm concerned.
Well, for us, but I think I've seen some people say they are more excited about Rogue One.
Yeah, I have seen some, but that's the thing. That's what's interesting about Collider Movie Talk, because they have a live chat on YouTube and they have like thousands of live viewers who are just like regular movie pundits. They're not like hardcore nerds or like super knowledgeable about these kinds of things. And just in the chat window, all of the people listening were also like giving their opinions about which film they'd rather see, and I think 98% of people said episode 8.
Right.
Which I found interesting, because like, don't get me wrong, like you say, there are people who have come out and said I am more interested in Rogue One, and that's awesome, that's really good, but I do really feel the general interest lies in the Saga films.
Yeah,
not to say it won't be successful, but like, it's not the main event, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just natural to be invested in the story that we're already partway through. You know, we're all desperate to find out what happens next. Yes. Whereas Rogue One, we've said before, we kind of already know how it's going to end. So yes, the execution might be fantastic, and I'm excited to see how they do, but it's not like you're kept in suspense as to where things are going.
No, it's true. It's like the Saga films. They're like episodes of a really compelling TV series.
Yeah.
And like each one ends on this amazing cliffhanger, and you have to tune in next week.
Or 2 years later.
Yeah, exactly. Tune in 2 years later. It's like there's this show called The Missing on the BBC right now, and it's incredible. It's so suspenseful and gripping. But yeah, like it gives me like almost like a Star Wars feeling. Nothing like Star Wars at all. It's horribly dark and depressing. But like, in terms of that sense of like being gripped and like being obsessed with what's going to come in the next installment. And yeah, that's something that the Saga films can offer that the standalones can't, I don't think. And that's not to say that the standalone films are worse for that. It just means they're different.
Yeah. Do you know what kills me? Mm-hmm. We were going to have episode 8 in May.
I know. Oh, that really is like stab in the heart. Like,
it is.
Think if it were to come out in May, we would definitely have already had promotion by this point.
Yeah. This is the thing, like, I don't know where Ryan's in the editing process, of course, but I wonder if things like got pushed back because they had that later date, or they just kept the original schedule and it's like the film was just going to be ready. And, you know, because presumably he has other projects he needs to get onto. I don't actually know, but I would assume so. Like,
I don't think he has anything officially announced.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I'm sure there are other things like sizzling away. But equally, I'm pretty sure that working on a Star Wars film, it can easily take up all those years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he could just stay editing it for ages, but he might go insane.
Yeah, he'd be like the ultimate perfectionist. Like, no, Ryan, you need to leave it alone now. We'll get a bit later to what Ryan seems to be doing with his free time.
Oh yeah, he's having lots of fun.
Yeah, he is having lots and lots of fun. He's got a great toy box to play with now. Right, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The next story is that Rogue One is tracking for an 140 million North American debut. And we have this from The Hollywood Reporter. Standalone film Rogue One, a Star Wars story, one of the biggest box office curiosities of the year, is projected to open to 130 million plus in North America over the December 16th to 18th weekend, which would mark the second biggest December opening of all time behind last year's Star Wars The Force Awakens. The movie came on track on Tuesday morning, with one service suggesting it could even approach 150 million. Conversely, another service has it open in the high 120 million range, underscoring what a guessing game tracking can be. So, Kirsty, what did you think about these figures? Good?
Well, yeah, it's good news, isn't it? I
definitely.
mean, if they pan out, I mean, we want it to be a success. Yes. And it has to be a success financially, not just critically, in terms of them continuing with these. So,
yeah,
fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this is a fantastic figure. If it comes anywhere close to $150 million, I'd expect Disney to be jumping for joy, or at least they should be, because obviously The Force Awakens earned a lot more when it came out last year, but naturally it earned a lot more because it had this massive like build up towards it, and 10 years of people anticipating this film and this continuation of the Saga films. So Rogue One, it can never have that again because it doesn't have like that long absence, and absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that. But yeah, like to have that, like a projection in that range is really encouraging. And I think it's also great, like, to like present to the naysayers who say, oh, we like having a female lead isn't going to put people off, like blah, blah, blah. People aren't interested in this film, blah, blah, blah. Like that is clearly evidently not the case. Because as far as I understand it, the tracking figures, they figure those out by looking at social media impressions,
right,
and things like that. Like, so they gauge the level of interest that you see online, and then they use that and translate it into ching ching cash registers clicking, shall we say. So yeah, I think it's really encouraging, and it clearly shows that there is a lot of interest in this movie, despite my rather pessimistic summary of the attitude towards Rogue One earlier. So sorry, Rogue One, people do love you and want to watch you.
Yeah, I think it's just because we're comparing it to The Force Awakens, right? So it's always going to be, and I think Episode 8 might be this way too. It's not going to make as much money as the first Star Wars film in 10 years. Yeah. I just, it's not even about the quality there. It's just people were so much more invested in seeing the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, that was also true of Empire Strikes Back, right? It wasn't as commercially successful.
Yes, exactly. There's always like a dip in the middle. It's the same with Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was different because Attack of the Clones came off the back of a movie that had a rather negative reputation, shall we say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is just historically always a dip in the middle. So I don't think that should surprise anyone.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of reviews we're going to get and whether that will make a difference overall to whether people choose to go and see it, because it wouldn't for me. Like, even if a bad review came out, I'm still going to go and see it, but I'm not the general audience. So
yeah. No, exactly. I do think that will obviously affect the box office. So if you look at films like Batman v Superman, for example, that film could have done much, much better than it did. But obviously word got out that it wasn't very good.
Yeah, so I didn't bother going to see that because...
No, nor did I.
But I wasn't invested, so...
Yeah, no, same. Like nothing against comic book movies especially. They just don't particularly appeal to me, and that's okay.
Yeah, I've seen a few of the Marvel movies, and they all just kind of blur together for me. Like, they're entertaining while I'm watching them.
Yeah.
But I don't seek them out for repeat viewings or anything.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I feel. Like, I've never felt any desire to go back and watch a Marvel film twice. And it's not because they're bad movies. It's just because they're the kind of films that I don't think really warrant, like, repeated viewings.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it'd have been different if I was like 8 when they came out. I'd probably be like watching it over and over and over again on repeats. It'd be the most incredible thing I've ever seen. But yeah, just now it doesn't appeal to my tastes in the same way.
Yeah, I'm the same. But obviously we're not the majority of people because those films are really successful. So.
Yeah.
We're the weird ones.
Yeah, no, we're definitely the exception to the rule there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and one last thing I'd like to say about the box office is that it's also particularly impressive for December, because I think in the article elsewhere beyond the bit I read out, it mentions that the highest December opening prior to Force Awakens was like in the mid 80 million range.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, so obviously what Force Awakens did in comparison to that was incredible. And what Rogue One has the potential to do based on this in comparison to the standard for December, which historically isn't the biggest box office month, like, it's really impressive. So,
yeah, I'm interested to see if they keep the release dates to, one Star Wars movie a year and it's always in December. Or whether, because, they were going to have Episode 8 in May, and I think Episode 9 is still scheduled for May 2019. Yeah. But I wonder if they're going to move it now.
Yeah, it's really strange. I'm pretty sure the Han Solo movie is also scheduled for May 2018. So they're clearly quite interested in that May slot, but so far they haven't been able to commit to it ever.
Because they also have Marvel and like things like Pirates of the Caribbean as well, right? So they don't want to compete with themselves.
Yeah, no, so I think that was a big part of the motive behind moving episode 8. It was now that Force Awakens has come out and done this massive business, December has basically become Star Wars month.
Yeah.
That is the month in which to release a Star Wars movie. So I think, like, moving episode 8 to then, I don't think it's anything to do with when the film will be finished. I'm pretty sure the film is on track to be finished for a May 2017 release, which is obviously very painful.
Torture.
I know, it's so painful. It's like, okay, who wants to break into the vault? Obviously not going to happen. But yeah, just the concept of a final or near final version of episode 8 existing somewhere now.
I wonder if that makes it more likely that spoilers would come out before the film is released. I mean, I know we haven't got a huge amount at this point, but I wonder if that will change next year.
Yeah, I'd think so, because there are going to be lots of people who need to see it for various reasons. And I'm sure for like publicity and marketing purposes, it is really useful to have what is approaching a final cut to actually show people and say, okay, this is the product. Help us sell this to people.
Yeah, for like the more people who see it, the greater chance there is that we're going to be hearing something quite juicy.
Yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed. But yeah, like, so obviously with Force Awakens, that was very different. They were editing right up until just before the premiere. So like, I think it was like sound mixing rather than actual full-blown editing. But basically,
well, didn't they? JJ said that he did those reshoots, like the bit in the forest with Kylo and Rey staring at each other. That was quite close at the end as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, no,
and that's become a major part of the movie at this point.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think he said he did a lot of that at Bad Robot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure where Bad Robot's based, but it's presumably in America somewhere. So, yeah, like, it was all done relatively last minute. And they presumably had quite different iterations of the film at various points, which also shows in the kind of spoiler reports people are getting. Because if you look at some of the spoilers, they bear very little relation to the final film that is Force Awakens, but they were actually based on truth. They were based on things that were filmed or things that were scripted. So people clearly were getting access to information about the film. It was just information that ended up being irrelevant.
Yeah. I've seen people use the fact that those spoilers never came to fruition as evidence that the people in the know don't really know what they're talking about. Yeah. It's like they can't know what's going to end up on the cutting room floor and what's going to be in the final film. That's not how it works. Yeah,
exactly. It's not like their source is going to be the editor of the film. It's not going to be like the editor, like having Jason Ward from Mike and Star Wars on speed dial. And going, oh, hi, Jason, just want to let you know we cut the scene with Unkar and Rey today, so feel free to mention that. Bye, love you. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it is. Oh my goodness. Right, so then the next story we have is that Rogue One tickets have gone in sale in Europe. So there isn't any fancy spiel to read out here because this is just a self-evident fact. I have my Rogue One tickets. Woo!
Good for you.
Sorry. Yeah, it's really exciting because I feel really mean though, because this is just going to sound like I'm gloating, and I feel really
we'll get them. It's just a case of when.
Can you imagine if you didn't?
Yeah, they're just not going to release it here. It's just going to be in Europe.
That'd be hilarious, but really cool. Yeah, so I think I've mentioned before that I saw Force Awakens at the Science Museum. And actually last week, I think I erroneously mentioned it as saying that I'd seen it in 2D IMAX, but not 70mm. And that's wrong, because what I saw at the Science Museum was a 70mm print of The Force Awakens. So I don't know what I'm talking about. Because, yeah, Force Awakens, 70mm, 2D IMAX, way to see it. Amazing. It's awesome. Go and do it. And basically the exciting thing about Rogue One is that I'm seeing Rogue One there.
Yay!
So I'm going to see it in beautiful, pristine, big quality. So that's very exciting to me.
Yeah, that sounds like the best possible way to see it. So I'm excited for you.
Oh, thank you. Do you have like any big cinemas near you?
Yes. So I live in Seattle, and we have the Cinerama here. So that's 70mm as well. And actually, I went last night to see Fantastic Beasts for the second time, and I saw it there. And for the first week, they are showing it in 70.
Oh, how nice. Wow.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, no, it's amazing what a difference. What a difference the format makes. Yeah, no, go there. Yeah, that's also something you saw Fantastic Beasts again. I've seen it twice too.
Yeah, I really needed it because everything that's been going on in America right now has just been depressing me.
Yeah.
And that film is just so wonderful. It's
No,
full of hope and
I love
loveliness.
it. I find it so nice. It's like really whimsical and just charming and lovely, and so like hopeful and optimistic about humanity. Like
Yes.
which I love.
Yeah, exactly.
I was actually listening to one of my favorite podcasts, the Slash Filmcast, which is one of my absolute favorite podcasts. They're great, and I was a bit heartbroken because two of the main guys on there, whose opinions like they're normally pretty close to mine, they hated it, and they went on like these long rants about how like awful it was and how empty and shallow and incoherent.
Oh.
And it's like, you can't be talking about this film. It's so nice and lovely, and it makes my heart feel warm.
Yeah, everyone has their own opinion, obviously, but I don't know what to think about that because it made me feel warm inside watching that film.
Yeah, same. I was kind of like, have you no souls? But, yeah, no, like you say, it's just people have different opinions. But I find that's what I like. I find that fascinating about film, actually, the way that people can watch the same thing and these wildly different impressions and takes on it. Happens a lot with Star Wars.
Oh yeah, The Force Awakens has been like something of a Rorschach test for its audience. I feel like everyone saw something different in the characters and the story and where it's going to go, and I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, no, it is really interesting. One of the best things about film, and it's proof that film is art.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we are going to continue on to our next story, which is that Michael Giacchino has spoken about composing for Rogue One. And this is a really long interview in EW, but I'm just going to read a few choice excerpts. And the first one is about Michael saying what went down with previous composer Alexandre Desplat. Michael, I'll tell you, I actually don't know an awful lot about that. The filmmakers were like, do you want to know what happened? And my response was, you know what, when this is all over, we can sit and talk and have a drink, and you can tell me whatever you want. I'd love to hear the story, but for right now, I feel like I'd rather just pretend nothing happened and everything is good, and I'm just going to come on to this. And they were like, fair enough, fair enough. So honestly, I don't know anything about it other than what was purportedly, schedule issues. Wink. Yes, those famous schedule issues. Yeah, no, I don't buy that for a second. And then the next quote is Michael talking on his impressions of Rogue One. It's a film that is in many ways a really great World War II movie, and I loved that about it. But it also has this huge, huge heart at the centre of it. And that was the one thing I just didn't want to discount. Yes, it's an action movie, and it's a Star Wars film, and it has all the things that you would come to expect and love about that. But I didn't want to forget that it was also an incredibly emotional movie as well. That was what really pulled me in. I love working on projects that have an emotional centre to them, and not manufactured emotion either, even though, it's a weird thing to say because that's literally all we're doing, manufacturing emotion. And this interview is much, much longer than those two excerpts. And it's actually really interesting. I recommend reading it. It's surprisingly candid, to be honest. It's probably the most candid thing I've seen about Rogue One anywhere, which is quite surprising because EW is almost like party political broadcast for the Star Wars.
Tell me about it.
Andy Breznikin is in there. Like, he is in their pocket. No, bless him. Like, he seems like a lovely guy and he does a great job on reporting on all this. But he is obviously the reporter that Lucasfilm go to if they want to break any kind of Star Wars story.
Or desperately want to reel something back in after JJ's blunder about Rey's parents.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, I talked to him about it. It's fine. Here's his retraction. Like, yeah, okay.
He's basically Lucasfilm PR at this point.
He is, yeah.
Bless him. But yeah, did you read the interview, Kirsty?
I haven't managed to read the whole thing yet, but I'm definitely going to because these responses are really interesting.
Yeah.
And I am very happy to hear that Rogue One does have a big emotional heart because I know some people are really excited about the idea of there being this like badass war movie, it's set in the Star Wars universe, but completely different. But what I love about Star Wars is its emotional heart.
Yes.
That's what I watch it for. So I know that's not true for everyone, but I personally am pleased to hear that.
Yeah, no, I find that really interesting. But like you, I like Star Wars for the emotion and the characters and the heart of it. So like the whole like prospect of a Star Wars film that's just like a war movie with like very little suggestion, like the emotion that will be going on there, that didn't appeal to me much. It didn't do much for me.
I do wonder if that's something that they directly addressed with the reshoots, and if that's really the reason behind the switching composers, and like they had to change the score to reflect that change in the emotional tone.
I think I did read that part of the reshoots was to like make you care more about these characters.
Right.
Like I had the impression that there might have been problems like empathizing with them and like tracking their motives and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I can definitely see that being something that they had to tackle when they went back to the film. And like you say, if that is something they changed in a big way through the reshoots, that would naturally explain why the composers changed. Because from what Michael alludes to with what happened with Alexandra Desplat, it doesn't sound like a very cordial divorce, shall we say.
It sounds really awkward.
It does sound incredibly awkward. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's like cringe.
Yeah, it would be really difficult, actually, wouldn't it? If you'd composed the score for a film that you were told, like they shot the film, that was what they supposedly wanted.
Yeah.
And then the Disney execs came in and said, can you give it more heart? And that meant that your work was then discounted. Like, that would be quite brutal if that's what happened.
I think it's very likely that something like that happened. So he probably composed a score on the understanding that Rogue One was going to be one kind of film. Then they went back, they made it quite a different kind of film. And then I can only guess they went back to Desplat and said, hey, change the movie. Want to change the music?
Mm.
And he was like, no. And then it's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, okay, call Giacchino, get him in.
That must be really difficult. And then, is it true that Giacchino had like 4 weeks?
Yes, he did.
That's insane.
That is absolute insanity.
I will honestly be so impressed with the score if he's pulled it off. Like, that's just incredible.
If he's done anything even passable, to be honest, in 4 weeks, that's amazing.
Has he slept?
Yeah, that's like the equivalent of like being a kid and you have like a 4-page report to write on the book you're meant to have read, and then you don't even pick up the book until you're on the bus on the way to school on the day you need to hand in the report. You know, like that is how ludicrous that situation is.
Wow.
But yeah, Michael is a real hero coming in at the stage with 4 weeks left to write it. And I must say, I am really pleased they're not trying to hide how like rushed and last minute this has been, because
they can't really be at this point.
Yeah, they really can't. You know, like they even needed to keep him from doing any publicity at all, so like stay completely silent, or they would just need to be. Okay, yeah, you got to admit that this was a bit of a cluster.
Yeah, but he's probably doing it in the best way he can, because, you know, he does. If he has asked not to know the details, and to be fair, he probably didn't want to know, because he just needs to come in and do the job.
Yes,
it doesn't really matter what happened with the previous composer. He needs to do a great job, and that's what counts. So yeah, people probably read into all sorts of things here, and that's what we're doing too. But it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, no, exactly. Very interesting comments nonetheless. And then the final Rogue One thing we have is quite a few more TV spots. There's been so many of these, I haven't even tried to cover all of the ones that have come out. A lot of them they really don't add much. They're just recycling footage we've already seen elsewhere. So I basically highlighted 2 particular TV spots that seemed like the most interesting ones, and then thought we could just talk about them a little. So the first one is Contact, which is about Jyn and her father. And yeah, like there's obviously not much to it, because these are all 30-second TV spots and they don't have much room to convey story or anything like that. But I did really like this because there was lots of new footage of Galen and Jyn, like when Jyn is a child.
Yeah.
And like showing that father-daughter bond, which I really appreciated. It was really sweet, and you really got the impression watching it that, yeah, this is a man who really deeply loves his daughter and he'd do anything to protect her.
Yeah, I think this is the emotional heart I think he's referring to.
Yeah.
And reading Catalyst, this is obviously coming through for me a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really love this spot.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to cry in this movie.
Oh. Yeah, like have you been able to latch on to like that emotional aspect of it from reading Catalyst? Like have you got to bits of Baby Jyn and stuff?
At the moment I'm reading it, she's still a baby, and that, you know, they're talking about her and how much they love her and everything, but it's more about Galen and Lyra as opposed to Jin at this point.
No, that's natural. I know she becomes older later on in the book, so I expect you're going to get more of
I almost feel like this. Yeah, I almost feel like these spots and Rogue One itself is like a spoiler for Catalyst rather than the other way around. Because I'm reading it and I'm like, wait, I haven't got to that point yet. I haven't seen the. Yeah, it's interesting.
It is going to be interesting to see like how much Rogue One like overlaps with Catalyst, because I think I remember Mads mentioning that you see Jin at 4 in the film.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that like Jin is that age in Catalyst as well, or if not, or she might even be older than that. So that just does like screwy things to my mind. It's like, how does this all piece together?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that they're doing that. And then, you know, like 95% of the audience aren't going to read that book anyway, so it's like a way to pad out the story, you know, from the family. But with these flashbacks and seeing baby Jin in the movie, they're still going to have that emotional component. So
yeah, exactly, which is cool. Right, then the next TV spot is called Shinning Cassian, which is quite on the nose because it's writing about Jin and Cassian. And yeah, I really like this one. It's probably my favourite of all the TV spots. Apart from Contact, actually. So I do like Baby Jin and Galen hugging. That's really sweet. But yeah, I liked this one. It gave me a good sense of both the characters, and like I also saw like a little bit of a hint at romance, I must say.
Yeah.
I really do think they're leading us down that path. Did you get that as well?
I did. I mean, I'm always wary of seeing that stuff in the trailers and then assuming that's how it'll actually go in the movie, because I think some people maybe did that with The Force Awakens.
Yes.
But this is a standalone movie. It's not like a trilogy where you'll have twists and turns. So if they're doing an understated romance or whatever it's going to end up being, this is when you're going to see it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was part of the reshoots as well, like bringing that relationship more to the forefront.
It's so hard. I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I did get like a sense of newness about those interactions.
Yeah.
With Cassian, if that makes sense.
Well, because there are certain clips that they're showing now of them like talking about that people always leave her and stuff like that. We had never seen them before. I think that's new stuff.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so as well. And like you say, that would make a lot of sense if they had gone back to add more of like an emotional anchor to the film and make you care more about these people.
Yeah, I'm happy about it because that's the stuff I love.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I hate to say it, but like having two characters who have feelings for each other, that is a good way to automatically create empathy and get the audience engaged in their plight and care about them. Yeah. Because you care about them because the characters care about each other.
Yeah, I know some people don't care about romance in Star Wars, and that's fine. But I, like you, it's a good way to bring in that emotional heart. It's not the only way. It's also about family and friendship. But yeah, I like seeing those stories. Yeah, no, definitely, it's really cool. Oh yeah, and one more thing about that particular trailer is it brought back this rebellion in it. I rebel. Yeah, it's a bit cheesy. I really thought that line had gone. Oh, you were hoping that it would be cut out of the movie?
I think it was from the first trailer, or if not the first, the second. So I really thought that it'd been dead because it'd been a long time since we've seen that trailer, that line rear its head. Right. Nope, definitely still in there. If it's not in there and they're still using it in the publicity, they don't know what they're doing. They are very confused.
We have to accept that Star Wars has a healthy dose of cheese in it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a bit cringy, but there was some lines in The Force Awakens that were a bit cheesy too. So
yeah, that's true. I remember, I think it was the first main theatrical trailer for Force Awakens, and I remember hearing Daisy's line readings and thinking, "Oh, she sounds a bit amateur. I don't like that."
What lines were those?
I think it's
about "I'm no one," stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm no one. Okay. Those kinds of lines. I think just because they were completely taken out of context, it never works as well. So I'm sure when I hear "I rebel" in the film in context, it will sound much, much better. It's just isolated. It just is a bit of a cheese fest, but yeah, it's not going to kill me.
Yeah, it's the way things are edited a lot of the time because you don't hear the rest of the conversation that's going on. It's just this one line that is probably made to sound far more important than it actually is.
Yeah, exactly. You might not even like notice it's said in the film
Yeah.
days. Oh yeah, and I did also notice that IRA Bell was a different take again.
Oh really? I am just not as nowhere near as observant as you because I never pick up on that kind of stuff. Like
I don't know why. Like I'm just really good at like noticing different takes of life.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that again because. So is it as cheesy or is it different somehow?
I think it sounded a bit less forced in the new trailer. Like it was in the first one. I think it was worse. It was a bit more like I rebel. Not quite that bad, but yeah, they've improved it. It got better.
Okay, well, I wonder which one's going to end up in the final film then.
I would hazard a guess at this one because the other one,
or maybe there's another one that we still haven't seen.
Quite possibly. I think it's like the whole Chewie we're home line. People got really attached to how Harrison delivered that line in the trailer, and then in the film they just use a different take. Mm-hmm. And people were like, "Oh my god, you use a different take! How do you?" Like, it's really interesting how trailers build people's expectations up, and I expect that's something they have to be really conscious of for Rogue One, because with that first trailer, that was before any of the reshoot drama, so they were presumably advertising quite a different film at that point. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to look back at that trailer after we've seen the film and think what was in that trailer that is not in the film anymore.
Yeah. I think people have to keep in mind that trailers are marketing. They're not canon or the story itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen people when they're talking about like the story for the sequel trilogy, they're still using stuff that's from the trailers as an argument or some kind of evidence when it's not in the film itself.
Yes.
Which doesn't really work anymore.
No, it really doesn't. It's like that whole line, I think, from the Star Wars Celebration trailer where it's Luke's doing the voiceover. And he says, my father had it, my sister had it, you have that power too, and so on and so forth. And lots of people use that as evidence for Rey Skywalker.
Yeah.
But it's like, guys, they're not going to convey that through a trailer. Like, that is all about like ramping up excitement and teasing people. It's not about revealing the innermost secrets of the Saga films.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just promotional. Like, people shouldn't get so attached. I know they do, and I just wasn't paying that much attention before The Force Awakens came out, so it just wasn't in my head in the same way, but I can understand why it does to some people. Yeah.
No, I do think it's a natural impulse to latch onto those things, especially when you're working in a void and there's not much other information.
Yeah. I'm sure I will do the same for episode 8, so that'll be
yes. Fun. I think we're going to go hyper analytical the moment footage comes out. It'll be hilarious. Right, and then to move on, we have another blast from the past because we have a bit about Force Awakens casting. So basically, this is actually about a panel that Jessica Henwick, who ended up playing Jess Parva in The Force Awakens, it's from a panel she did back in September. But it's essentially only come to light and attracted a lot of discussion recently. So I thought it would be worth discussing because basically, this poor girl, she can't say anything, but people keep on asking her Star Wars questions and like essentially asking her to reveal like who Rey's parents are. And Jessica says quite a few interesting things, and I'll just summarize them or quote her. So the first thing is she's asked, "Do you know anything about Star Wars Episode 8?" And Jessica says, "I know things and I don't know things. I know I can't talk about the things I do know, and I probably can't talk about the things that I don't know either." Then the next question is, "So, about Episode 8, do you think Rey is Luke's daughter?" And then Jessica says, "I know who I think Rey is related to, but I'm not going to say because I'm pretty sure that I'm right and I don't want to get sued. Because the thing is, that's the role I originally auditioned for, and so I got really far with that, and I found out a lot about the character. So I'm pretty sure I know. Sorry guys, secret stays with me." And then one other part that I didn't include in the notes but is interesting. So later on she's asked again about who Rey's parents are. And one of the audience members mentions about thinking that Luke as Rey's father would be a silly idea. And Jessica says, "Oh no, I don't think that either. I think it's way too obvious." Like clearly like suggesting that whatever her strong hunch as to Rey's parentage is, it does evidently preclude Rey Skywalker because she doesn't think that could be the case. So, yeah, I find these comments really interesting. And this is obviously a very old chestnut. The question of Rey's parentage, it's one of the biggest hot topics in Star Wars fandom.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought this would be like a good excuse to discuss it and have a little chat about Jessica and what her being in contention for Rey means in terms of the character's parentage. So yeah, what did you think about this, Kirsty?
I mean, she can't. I think that people read a lot of stuff into these kind of answers. It doesn't clearly point to anything for me because I already don't think that Rey is related to Luke, Han, and Leia.
Yes.
But yeah, it makes it clear, even though we already knew she was up for the part, that they really weren't looking for someone who necessarily looked like those characters.
Yes. I
know that Daisy does, so people, put that into the theory, but I think it's a lot more open-ended than people think, and it's just, it might be something that comes out in the story itself, like that her parentage relates to the actual plot of this trilogy.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I found this really quite interesting. I think we've heard like rumors about Jessica being like one of the runner-ups for Rey, so haven't got really far. But this interview is the first time I've seen it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So I think it was on the Now This Is Podcasting, like they were talking about it once a long time ago, and they mentioned Jessica Henwick as having got the part of Jess Parva because she didn't get the part of Rey. So it's like a consolation prize, basically. So yeah, I found that interesting just to get that confirmed, because if Jessica Henwick is saying it, then obviously she was one of the finalists,
right?
Which is interesting. And also there's the question of Jessica being half Asian,
right?
And obviously, you and I, we in no way believe that Rey is a Solo, like at this point, and I'm pretty sure that we both agree that The Force Awakens itself eliminates Rey Solo as a possibility. But Rey Solo has been very stubborn, like as a theory, and you do still find people clinging to that.
I understand why people cling to it, even though the film itself doesn't really go that way, because a dynamic between siblings makes much more sense narratively than between cousins.
Yeah.
Especially cousins who didn't grow up together.
Yeah, no, definitely. There are good reasons why people latch onto that and why they really want it to happen. And it's also a question of people really, really like and care about Han and Leia. Right. So they want them to have a good child. So it's natural and empathetic, and I can understand that completely. But yeah, like, unfortunately, because of how Hollywood is, I just don't think it's realistic to believe that a half Asian actress would be one of the finalists for the part of Rey if they were looking to cast the daughter of Han and Leia.
Yeah, I don't think it's just not.
You see it go the other way around. So I think in Aloha they cast Emma Stone as a woman of like Hawaiian descent or something equally awful.
It happens far too often that way.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like Emma Stone. She's a really great actress and I really like her, but she's whitest of the white. Yeah. She should not be playing anyone of like ethnic minority descent. It's just, no, it doesn't really work. And yeah, so I just don't see like Rey being envisaged as Rey Solo. Like, definitely not. Because I have seen arguments from people where they've basically said that, it was just a smokescreen, that they had this open casting call open to all ethnicities, but the only girls they took seriously for it, the only ones who made it to become finalists for the part of Rey, they were all white brunettes, because in the assumption that they were looking for someone who could play Han Leia's daughter. And like Jessica having got as far as she did, it just indicates that that's really not likely to be the case.
Exactly. Like, she's telling the truth here, and she was, I don't know if she was the second place, or I don't know how it works, but she was strongly considered, and it just wouldn't have been the case if they were looking for someone categorically to play Han and Leia's daughter.
Yeah.
And even with Luke's daughter, I just don't see it going that way. But I guess we'll see. Like, yeah. In terms of who she says she thinks Rey is related to, it's interesting how she phrased it like that, because it's not just about who she's not related to. It's that she actually thinks that she learned something about her parentage or lineage in some way. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I found that really interesting. Later on in the comments that I didn't transcribe, she she makes it clear that no one explicitly said to her, Rey is the daughter of X. Like, and as she says in the part I did transcribe, she says, I found out a lot about the character. So evidently she learned some things about Rey and the kind of person this character is that caused her to form a strong hunch as to what her lineage might be. And it's also interesting because Jessica, she plays very coy about whether she's involved with episode 8 at all. And she strongly indicates that she knows things about episode 8 as well. And it's likely that she's like still friends with some of the people involved and so on and so forth. So you don't know what she's heard. But like all of these things combined, they do make me pretty... They give me a strong feeling that, like, if anyone has a good guess, I think Jessica's guess would be very good indeed. So, yeah, and I think that's interesting and relevant because she clearly, like, the fact that she was auditioning for Rey in itself precludes Rey Solo, and her opinion of Rey Skywalker would also seem to discount that. Like, as far as Jessica's concerned, from what she knows, obviously a lot of things might have changed. It's not like she's in the editing room next to Rian Johnson, like intimately aware of all the development that's going on with the backstory and so on. But I think she clearly knows more than we do. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm just hesitant to take all this stuff on board, and I've seen, I've said so many times that I think, oh, this must be the end of Rey Solo. And it still persists as a theory. Yeah. So I don't think anything's going to douse that apart from the story itself.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think it would take some pretty, like, final evidence, shall we say, to eliminate that as a possibility. But yeah, it's fine. And I think all this theorizing is fine and fun as long as people step back and remember it's just a movie. Right, to move on, I'm sorry to disappoint anyone, but we are actually skipping our spotlight this week, and we're probably also going to have to skip questions. This isn't because we don't love you. It's because it's Thanksgiving, and basically people have real-life commitments. And
sorry, I have to go and eat dinner.
No, right, and they have nice turkey meals to eat. So I would not deprive Kirsty of that. So this is likely to be our last segment for today. But yeah, basically, Rian Johnson has been having fun trolling people on Instagram because he posted this bizarre collage of these very weird elements. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. I didn't really understand what I was looking at until some people explained elements of it. Like, there's an image of John Gotti, who's apparently like a crime boss, in the top corner. There's an image from Where is Luke Skywalker poster just beneath that. Then you have like words like Zila and priority mail and perhaps most conversation inspiring, the acronym TSF. And it's very difficult with this because Ryan just posted it without like explaining anything to do with what it was. So he's clearly just having fun with people, like poking the nest and so on.
I would totally be doing this if I was in his situation. It's so easy with Star Wars fans just to troll them.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, he's clearly just having lots of fun with this. But yeah, I do find it interesting because this is something that is obviously being created deliberately in a computer. It is not something that Rian Johnson stumbled across on a wall in real life. It's something that either he or his PA or whatever assembled in Photoshop, because you can just see all the digital filters. It's obvious. So yeah, I suppose my question to you, Kirsty, is do you think this is completely trolling, or do you think there's anything in here of substance? Like, I've seen quite a few people suggest that TSF might be the initials for the name of episode 8, for example.
It might be, but I'm if it is, wouldn't T stand for the? And we already had The Force Awakens. So I was kind of anticipating something completely different. So I'm hesitant to commit to that idea. I think it's a blend of trolling because that's easy to do and funny.
Yes.
And some of them will be hints at things, but I am really hesitant to look into it and spend time figuring it out, like other people obviously have. And if they want to have fun like that, that's fine, obviously.
Yeah. I'm going to go all like Da Vinci Code with this.
Right. So there's that picture of Luke, and that's one of Steel Wars, like, where is Luke Skywalker thing? Because that's obviously a big question for episode 8. What's been going on with Luke?
Yes.
And then Chosen One, obviously that relates too. Yeah. I mean, do you have any strong ideas about what it could be?
No, I really don't. I don't know what it means. Which I'm pretty sure no one knows what it means. And it probably means nothing. I have seen some people suggest that Zila is like a reference to Zealot, like referring to Kylo Ren. And one of the more imaginative theories I saw suggested that this is a pictorial representation of the Skywalker family tree. Which, like I say, is quite imaginative. I think it's complete nonsense. But yeah, like, it is fun. It's people theorizing and running with things, which is cool.
I don't know how, but some people seem to think that this was proof that a trailer was coming or something like that.
Well, to be fair, I think we kind of got our hopes up because we saw the front page to EW, and it was the future of Star Wars Episode 8 and beyond. So, oh my god,
it didn't even reference Episode 8 in the article. They just knew that that's what would get people paying attention. Yeah, and it worked.
It really did work.
Yeah.
They're so baiting us. I really, oh man, like, I just want a trailer, Ryan. I kind of feel it's a bit cruel to be doing this if there's nothing real coming. So, like, I do think there is some kind of hint or tease in there. But yeah, like, I'm really not sure what it is. I've heard some funny suggestions as to what TSF might mean. Someone suggested it was the Skywalker family.
Well, it could be, but
it could be, but it would just be so...
Could be all sorts of things.
If you think about the last titles of the middle film, it's been like The Empire Strikes Back, Attack of the Clones. They're very like action orientated. They are parties in the galaxy doing stuff. So Star Wars Episode 8, The Skywalker Family, just does not work, I don't think. It would be like having Star Wars Episode 8, The Waltons.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a title, but I was just thinking it could be what it symbolizes in this. I don't know, but I'm really boring. I just don't care to look into it too much. You could drive yourself crazy during this, and I'm sure people
many people have. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some people say that, maybe we'll get a trailer as we go to watch Rogue One, but I just don't see them promoting it that early.
Yeah.
For us, we've been tracking everything obsessively, and to us, it's like, oh, come on, just give us something already. But it's a year away.
Yeah.
People don't. I suppose they announced title and stuff for The Force Awakens, but again, that was a special case.
Yeah, and there wasn't any film in between at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a very, very different situation. I know Star Wars Newsnet, they said recently that the jury's out on whether there will be an Episode 8 trailer with Rogue One, but I'd be very surprised if there is, to be honest, because it would steal its thunder.
Yeah, I'm not hoping for it.
Yeah.
If I saw a trailer for Episode 8 before seeing Rogue One, I would just be thinking about Episode 8 as I was watching Rogue One. I'm telling you, that's what I would be doing. So, I'd be tempted to leave the theatre and then go online and see what everyone else was saying about it. That's how obsessed I am with Episode 8. So.
To be fair, in that scenario, I'm pretty sure it would break online before we saw it in the cinema.
True.
So you would be able to like calm yourself and talk to others about it first. Yeah. But yeah, like I think we just need to be grown-ups about Episode 8 trailers and accept it's not going to happen soon. And accept that Ryan's been a big meanie.
I don't blame him, because he gets a ton of questioning and demands to know what's going to happen in the story on social media, and it's just ridiculous. Like, leave him alone to do his job. That's not appropriate. Yeah, no, totally. It is ridiculous. And oh my goodness, I'm just looking. He only has 25,000 followers. That's actually really a really low number. I'm surprised by that. Yeah. Sorry, that's completely irrelevant. No, doesn't Pablo have more than that? I think he has like 30,000 on Twitter. Really? Oh wow. I think so. Could be wrong. Let me just quickly check before you have to run. I want to see how much of a superstar Pablo is. Okay. Pablo. Yeah, Pablo has... That's so funny. He's a bigger deal than Brian Johnson. Pablo has 32,000 followers. Wow. Yeah. So he can totally claim cred over Ryan. That's hilarious. Oh, bless him.
Right, I think you have to go now, Kirsty, don't you?
I do. Sorry, guys. Have to go and eat Thanksgiving dinner. So.
Don't worry. We'll try and have an extra big question time next week to make up for it. And we will also have Return the Spotlight section. So apologies to anyone who's disappointed. We wanted to get an episode out anyway, just so that you had some content from us.
Yeah, and there's so much news every week that if we left it, we'd have too much to cover next week. So
yeah, no, exactly. It would become a bit ridiculous. But yeah, if you have any questions for us, please send them to scavengershoard@gmail.com. I'll also include the email address in the comments below. And just quickly while we're here, I'd also like to thank everyone who's reviewed us on iTunes so far. I know some of the names we've had review us have been Lexi8158, Lady De Purple, and Natural Blue 26. You're all amazing. We really appreciate it. So it does help us so much getting those iTunes comments. So thank you. We're very grateful.
It's really lovely just to see what people are thinking of the show.
Yeah.
Like, I still can't believe that people actually listen to us. Like, that's odd to me that people would actually elect to listen to our rambles. But thank you, everyone who does. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. We really do appreciate it. And if you want to help us out, please do review us on iTunes because it's just a massive help to us. I'm Rachel, and you can find me on Star Wars Nonsense at Tumblr and at Journal of the Star Wars on WordPress. Kirsty?
I'm Bastila Bay on Tumblr and Scavengers Hoard on Twitter if people want to come and say hello there.
Right, so I think we're done for this week. Thank you very much, and we will deliver our next episode next week. Thank you, bye!
Thanks, bye!